against Brett Kavanaugh. I will tell you right now, listeners, I was against Brett Kavanaugh, not because of the Christine Blasey Ford thing, although, that did give me pause, because anyone who takes out $60,000 in loans just to buy baseball tickets, come on, man. But, taking things to the extreme the way she did, saying all men need to shut up, we should only listen to women, we should suspend the rule of law. I mean, a senator has to do better. You can be against him if you want, but you still can't set that example as a United States senator. That's really what makes her a buffoon, and that is a senator should know the law, should uphold the law, and should be about the law.
Absolutely. Now, I know we said we were going to go in number order from here on out, but let's actually go to the matchup that would be against this matchup, and that would be the 7-10. And again, this is an upset special in the making, in my opinion. The 7 seed, as we're talking about the Kavanaugh hearings, Cory Booker, or as we like to say around here, Booker, versus, I believe, as I'm looking through the list, the only member of Hollywood that made the cut, and I guess is going to be the representative from Hollywood in this year's Buffoon of the Year, Robert De Niro. And as an Italian-American, this hurt me, Matt, to have De Niro on the list, but, man... Go ahead.
I hear you. It hurts to have Bobby De Niro on there. As a New Yorker, he is someone who has done whatever you think his politics are. He's done a lot of great work for New York. Did a lot of great things for New York after 9/11. The way he really supported downtown. But you can't take that and overlook the buffoonery, especially when it's deserved. But we should start with the number 7 seed, Cory Booker, Spartacus.
Yes, that's all you need to say. That's literally all you need to say about him. That Spartacus moment.
I am Spartacus, and then no one else stood up.
Don't make me do this illegal thing. Senator, it's totally legal. We cleared it last night. I'm going to do it. Don't make me do it. Sir, you can do whatever you want. It's not illegal. I know it's illegal. I did it. Sir, you could have done it the whole time. Yeah, his audition for 2020, man, time's flying. His audition for 2020 flopped. And he looked more like a loudmouth and a grandstander than he did of a man of substance.
Yeah, and it's a shame because Cory Booker, say what you will about him, he's a Democrat, but he's a Democrat that I don't necessarily find too objectionable. He doesn't really go about, a lot of the craziness that the rest of them do. But this was not a great moment for him. And it's an example of the kind of buffoonery of, we were talking before, of hubris. This is a person who's clearly looking ahead of himself, clearly looking at the next fight, and forgetting how to fight the one in front of him.
Absolutely. And on the other hand, Robert De Niro, his Trump derangement syndrome, for lack of a better word, really took over his consciousness in 2018. And the amount of profanity that came from him every time there was a microphone around him was astounding. Because, listen, the man's not known for being so eloquent outside of a movie script. But, wow, he was just everywhere. And the rumor has it, at least according to the New York Post, that he's getting a divorce from his wife because of Trump. And that Trump rented out so much space in his head, and that his wife, I guess, wanted him to tone it down or was a supporter of Trump, something like that. That his marriage is now breaking up because of Donald Trump. There's some real buffoonery for you.
Yeah, his big moment of 2018 was the Tony Awards, where he, on live television, in an award that's about theater and the arts and creativity, decided to say what he said, and we can't say it on the air with you. But if you think back, it was a not nice word, Trump.
You might want to Google it. It's a not nice word that starts with the letter F, and we're going to say expletive deleted.
Yeah, it was really kind of buffoonish to do that where it is. I don't care if you don't like Donald Trump. I don't care if you don't like Barack Obama. That's fine. There's a time and place for things. What really the left doesn't get is that for a lot of people in America, it's not that we don't want to talk about politics. It's that we really do think that, there's a time and place for it. Like when I'm learning about, I live in New York. I like going to Broadway shows. When I'm trying to learn about which one's the best one there, I don't want to hear a rant about any politician, not just Donald Trump. And that's what made it buffoonery, because it's just like, read the room. In that room, being anti-Donald Trump gets a huge round of applause, but at the end of the day, it's not about Donald Trump that night. And that's really why he's been nominated, because he's kind of a symptom of a class of people that really just don't know when to just stop for a second. Just don't know when to stop.
Right, and listen, I used to be a fan of saying stay in your lane, and I still kind of am in the sense that if you're an entertainer, your job is to entertain, do that first. If your job is playing a sport, do that first. You can do all that stuff later on. Be politically active and vocal about causes and issues that are important to you. But stay in your lane, first and foremost. And that's a big reason why all these award shows, the Oscars, the Tonys, the Grammys, the Emmys, the American Music Awards, the Country Music Awards, all these things, their viewership is in the tank compared to a couple of years, even just a couple of years back. So if America hasn't sent the message already that, shut up and entertain me, I don't think it's ever going to get through their heads in Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to just, have a beer and watch football. There's nothing wrong with wanting to just, spend your Saturday night, seeing a theater with your wife. There's nothing wrong with just wanting to take a break from it, and not have to worry about, am I going to have to talk politics right now? Because some people just really just don't have the mind space for that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't want to be about politics, you don't have to be. That's the great thing about America. You have that choice.
Absolutely right. Let's go to the 3 seed and that matchup, because this was a topic of conversation among those of us debating the seeding. And we ultimately settled on the number 3 seed, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Pocahontas gets number 3.
And I think deservedly so. Originally we had the person who's going to be veiled as the 5 seed in here, and you'll hear about him later. But I think Elizabeth Warren this year really, really, this is the shoot yourself in the foot buffoonery, in that
another failed audition for 2018. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really shot herself in this, but also just she let the president bait her into doing something that ultimately hurt her. She's been telling this really, really stupid story for years. I don't want to say stupid story because we all have our family legends, my family legends is all the entertainers my great-grandfather, the opera singer, knew. Who knows if all of that's true? Who knows if that's just stories that he used to like to tell my mom and her sisters? Who knows? But we all have those stories you like to tell, and she had her own. The buffoonery that she's always had is that she turned it into a political calling card when she is as white as I am. I mean, she is just a pale honky like me.
And if you've ever seen a photo of Matt Fairley, you would see that he is indeed a pale honky. But she is going up against a fellow progressive from the other house, from the Congress, a man who has made I guess he is trying to become the heir apparent to Anthony Weiner, the feisty progressive that will go on TV and try to be telegenic and photogenic and will take on progressive statements and be like, yeah, I said it. We're talking about Eric Swalwell from the Socialist Republic of California. A bit of a surprise that he made the bracket as the 14, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's a bit of a surprise because, again, I mean, I think this is someone who's really kind of standing in for a class of people. We're picking someone here, to kind of stand in for all of the kind of left progressives who are really, really long on rhetoric, long on statements, long on sound bites, but really, really short on actual ideas on how to get there. They're all about, making their shot on TV, but not necessarily about actually, say, governing. And I think that's where Eric comes in here, because, he is the symptom of what's wrong with, the left getting its own tea party. The kind of people who really, really are all about, just being no to the mainstream of their own party. And Eric is, part of the symptom of that. Absolutely.
His latest gaffe, of course, on Twitter, where he responded to a comment regarding his position on gun control, which is take people's guns away, confiscate guns, and to say, could basically say, in response to someone saying, well, government's going to war to take your guns, and his response was, well, we have nuclear weapons that we can use, or something to that effect. Obviously, I'm not quoting him, I'm paraphrasing it, and I'm giving you the right spin on it, but yeah. He invoked the use of nuclear weapons on American citizens. That's just buffoonish. Just even going near that is buffoonery.
And it goes back to what I said about Senator Hirono. I mean, say what you will about the Second Amendment. It exists. It exists. It's the law of the land, and you'd think that a congressperson would know that. It would have more respect for it. But we are where we are. There's, like we said, he's part of a class of people who don't really care about what the law is. They want the policies they want, and they don't care whether or not they're legal.
Absolutely right.
And that's buffoonish.
Absolutely right. I mean, we could have put any number of gun advocates in here. It's really not about the gun advocacy. It's really about the foot and mouth disease and, the way too farness that we saw with Macy Hirono as well. That's the buffoonery here. Don't get it twisted. We're not trying to make a statement about gun control. We have our position here on the show. Matt has his position. But it's not about that. It's about how you communicate yourself in a lot of ways. And that's why this guy is just, that's why he made the list. And that's why he's the 14th seed. We're getting a little low on time here, so we're going to try to breeze through the rest of the brackets here. We're up to the 4th seed, and another CNN journalist, quote-unquote, makes the list. Now, we could have picked a lot of people from CNN. We could have picked Brooke Baldwin for saying don't use the gang word when talking about the caravans. We could have picked Chris Cuomo for any number of things that he said. But we ultimately settled on the number 4 seed, Don Lemon. And why'd we do that, Matt?
Well, I think, like you said, we pick on CNN, but CNN's the one that says that they're right down the middle. They're the ones, MSNBC, they're the liberals and they don't try and hide it. And Fox News, they're the conservatives, they don't try to hide it. So to say that there's some kind of bias in there, well, it's fine, of course. I mean, that's why you went there. That's why you went to one of those two. Don Lemon and CNN, doesn't try to hide the bias on the channel that's trying to position themselves as, the dragnet of news, just the facts, ma'am. This is what happened without, news without any kind of commentary, or at least
news without filter.
Nothing overt.
Right, news without filter.
And that's why Don gets in here, because of the people on CNN who don't really succeed at that, like you say, there were a few choices. He's obviously takes a lot of glee in it.
I mean, Brian Stetzer, we could have picked a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, that's just not becoming that's really buffoonish, not becoming of someone who's trying to be a centrist journalist. So that's why he's here. Absolutely.
And he's going up against Senator Dianne Feinstein. Again, the Kavanaugh buffoonery rears its ugly head, and I believe, as I'm looking, we have Booker, who is the highest seeded from the Kavanaughs for his Spartacus moment, and we have Hirono, and then we have Feinstein right in between. But her buffoonery is a little more insidious than everyone else's, in my opinion, because she was the one that sat on Christine Blasey Ford's letter until the most opportune moment possible, like right at the finish line.
Yeah. There's really no way to look at what she did as good, because she either intentionally sat on it and then dropped it, strategically, or she just bumbled the whole thing by, making a promise to Christine Blasey Ford. Her whole story was, well, she told me to keep it confident. Well, you know what? You shouldn't have promised that. We're talking about a Supreme Court justice. We're talking about a extraordinary allegation against a Supreme Court justice. Sometimes you got to say, you know what? Can't keep it confident. I got to go forward here. So either way, for either being wholly calculating or being just completely incompetent, she did not do well here, and she's got a lot to answer for.
Oh, and that was that whole thing.
I tend to think it's the incompetence. I really tend to think it was incompetence, which really, really ups the buffoonery here.
Well, remember the whole thing about what she told her staff or what she didn't tell her staff during one exchange with Senator Cornyn, and that was just. I lean towards incompetence, and I think that's why she's here. Now,
and that's why she's there. I think there's tremendous upset potential here. This is why I'm picking this as the upset bracket. But that's just my call.
It could be the upset special, but at the other end of that is the matchup between the 5 and the 12, who will play the winner of what we just talked about. The 5 seed may be Matt Fairley's favorite seed in this tournament this year. Am I right in saying that?
Well, he's got an impressive body of work behind him. He really does. He comes in here, as a well-practiced and tried-and-true buffoon, the kind of person who really, really puts work